And I think for most people, the models are getting to a point where they're good enough. Where even if you got a better model, you could be like, I don't notice a difference because they're more than good enough for what you're doing at the moment. And it's only when you get to those edge cases that you're really going to notice one of these new models taking it to the next level.
Or behind the scenes, when we're doing workflow automation for various businesses, as we understand the different parts that we are trying to do, some maybe use AI, some maybe don't. There's different models and tools out there. And so understanding what works best for a specific task or a part of the task allows us to use some of those different resources because there's different costing models with some of these tools. Some are more expensive than others. So when we have an opportunity to, discover what is a model that can work this task just as we need to, but is cheaper than, say, OpenAI, it gives us the ability to make something that is going to have lower monthly expenses and still give us the kind of results we want.
So kind of moving on to the next level, because what we're talking about right now is really kind of what I consider basic or kind of entry level into AI systems. Tell us a little bit, what are AI agents, and what could they do for a business?
So an AI agent is, essentially go back to that intern we were talking about earlier. Just imagine that intern is trained up in a very specific role and use case, and that is their continual focus. And I might have one intern, I might have a bunch of different interns that do different parts of a job, but essentially it is a combination of, code or no code tools that brings together functionality for a very specific purpose. And so just like that intern that was trained up. And this is an interesting area. When I talk to people in different businesses, they're always like, okay, what's the solution? What do you got? What's going to make my life easier? And this is really where we start to get into the realm of we need to get imaginations unlocked, because every case is just a little bit different. And I don't want to get too far ahead of you here, Bill, but I always try to speak very broadly at first with some ideas of what different AI agents or different applications of automation and AI can bring to helping address solutions. But usually where I find the best place to start is by asking, what is that aspect of your workflow or somebody in your business that you're just always thinking, man, there's got to be an easier way to do this, especially if it's something related to kind of the digital sphere, in understanding what is that boring task or that thing that like we get bogged down. We're having to spend 10 hours every week going over these documents to make sure they're accurate and they include all of this specific content that we need to do. Well, that's a great starting point for automation solutions. And what's really interesting about the AI conversation right now is it's opened up opportunities for conversation about automations that maybe had nothing to do with AI. I mean, maybe these are things that could have been done 10 years ago, just programmatic, but now people are more interested in talking it. People are exploring opportunities, and that's great. And they need to be. But as we talk to businesses, I always like to start with that conversation. What is that pain point that you were dealing with? But often I'll try to provide some, very generic examples, to get their imagination going through that conversation. Most businesses have to deal with, lead generation or marketing or different aspects there. And so, it's possible to utilize, AI agents or automations to, work off of, say, a predefined list of leads that you worked up that are fairly qualified, and you have some information about like their website or something like that. You can actually combine website scraping tools and AI to get an understanding of who that person is, the company they work for, what they do, and craft a custom individual email to that person as either an initial connection or as perhaps a follow-up to provide something of value in the actual email. I'm not one of those people that likes to just use AI for mass blasting of a multitude. I like to use it smartly, and I like when I apply it to use it in a way that it's going to bring some value to them. So if I'm doing an initial outreach to these agents, I might, based on what I learned about them, I might want to offer something that is going to be of value to them, whether they follow up with me or not. But that's also how you start to develop some trust and some curiosity into your organization about the expertise that you guys offer there. But you can craft individual emails that are better than what you're going to be able to write a lot of times, and you don't have to do the research to do it. And you can do it in multitude. I've been hearing some technologies right now that are these agent clusters where it's the same agent, but I can dump in 10,000 emails with information about them, and it spins up a bunch of individual agents in parallel. They're all doing the same thing, but it allows it to process that information tremendously quickly and then send that out. Or beyond that lead generation, I can have, AI monitoring information in my CRM to automate follow-ups or different flags. I mean, there's certainly automation tools that have been built into CRMs for a long time, but I can be a lot smarter about it. And I can look externally from the CRM to look at information on their website or information that I collect elsewhere to move them along, keep them engaged, and automate that process. Tying in a little bit to the voice to text, we can go the other direction. We can go text to voice. So we can use it with phone systems now. So we can create AI agents that after somebody has, scheduled a appointment, perhaps there is a follow-up call that just confirms the appointment with them, maybe asks if they have any general questions, and there's a knowledge base behind that particular AI agent that allows it to know, what's going to be done, what are the typical questions, what is its role in that conversation, and it can, help provide some information to the person as they are confirming their appointment. So, there's so many different things you can do. It's sometimes hard to come in and without knowing them, just say, this is the solution you need. I like to liken it to, we need to go on a date first. We need to get to know each other a little bit better. And then I can certainly provide you a lot more ideas, but I want to hear from you. I want to listen to you. And we're definitely going to be able to think of some cool solutions.
The thing that I think that people, in the way that people need to really be looking at AI agents, is look at specific tasks within your organization. Like you said, is, what makes this difficult? Or, isn't there an easier way? I love that question. When you're telling yourself, there's got to be an easier way, that's probably a great place for automation, whether that's an AI agent or just, like you said, programming behind the scenes. That's a great way to start. But think of this, probably we're really not at the place where AI can take on jobs. And what and the people that I'm listening to is AI has a hard time continuing intent over a long period of time. Which is, okay, our job is to do this and to keep that intent over 6 months or a year. Sometimes people have a hard time doing that as well, but AI has a hard time doing that. But think of specific tasks that somebody might be doing within your organization, especially if they're a bottleneck resource. And what's a bottleneck resource? They're a person where a lot of work is piling up behind them and it's keeping the organization from actually producing more or having more throughput. Those are great places to start.